on bribery that developed that convention was Professor Mark Peart. Mark he is the founder of the Basel Institute and is our president of the board still. And he's a criminal lawyer. And he recognized that it was important to put in place laws that prohibit the paying of bribes, particularly by companies when it's on a grand scale. But at the same time, he also knows that prevention is also more important than criminal enforcement, because in the end, criminal enforcement will always be limited, but prevention can be an idea that can take off and spread perhaps more widely. So his idea when we set up the Institute was really to find a way of bringing companies that are engaged in bribery but want to get out of it, or engaged in countries where there are bribe demands, was the basis for getting together with companies, in other words, in the same sector at the beginning. And we called them not collective action at that time, we called it industry standards. It was very simple in the sense that it was agreements not to pay bribes anymore. And since then, of course, the idea has expanded and taken off in all kinds of directions, which is fantastic. It was also in parallel, I have to say, we weren't the only ones thinking about this concept. Transparency International pioneered the use of integrity pacts, and of course they are institutionalized in India within the law. And sometimes they work really well, and sometimes they are not so successful, but this is a learning journey. So I think your use of the word journey is fantastic, because it has been a journey over these 15, 20 years, and we are all still learning. And it's the understanding and pooling of knowledge between us all that brings us forward. So the idea of a journey, I think, is a good one. It's also not too controversial. Everybody can buy into a journey, but if you say, we're going to get you to prevent corruption, people get a little bit nervous sometimes, let's put it that way. So it's very much in the idea of how do we reinforce activities to prevent corruption. That's the notion behind collective action. And as you said, more heads than one are often more useful.
Thank you, Gemma. And as you pointed out, the wording that we use in these journeys, they also become important. So and this is not the only challenge, and I'm pretty sure there are a lot of challenges that you would have faced, that we faced when we were doing these journeys. Would you want to talk about the challenges and how you sort of try to tackle it?
Sure. I mean, challenges are, I think there was somebody who once said, I don't fail, I just learn. And so challenges is a good way of putting it, because they give us opportunities to rise to that challenge. And I think when we talk to collective action initiatives and people who are running them about how they meet those challenges, we are endlessly surprised at the level of enthusiasm and ingenuity to get over those challenges, which is fantastic, because as we know, this is a long game. It is a long journey, not only a journey, but a long one. So it needs a lot of tenacity, sticking at it, keeping going, not giving up. So that's in the face of whatever comes up. And when we talk to collective action initiatives, the range of challenges can be as diverse as there are initiatives. So it could be finding the right stakeholders at the beginning. Who do you actually engage with? How do you find them? How do you persuade them? And all sorts of different solutions come up in those discussions about incentives for small companies, which we'll probably hear about a bit more in a moment. Different ways of taking advantage of a particular situation. Maybe there's a revolution, or maybe there's a change in government, which looks like a huge challenge, but then also provides an opportunity. So those are some of the things that come up. Other challenges that we've seen are understanding the context, understanding what motivates those that ask for bribes and those that pay them, and understanding the background and the roots to the problem, the context, in other words, can also help to find ways in to the solutions and bringing like-minded people together. So working with the positive is a good one. So one of the examples, rather than me just talking about high-level theory, let me just give you a couple of examples. Some years ago, there was an initiative to improve integrity amongst customs brokers in a particular country. So the initiative brought them all together. The idea was that they would sign up to basic, simple principles. And as we know, customs authorities and customs situations can often result in facilitation payments or even larger bribes. And the idea was to ensure that companies use those brokers who acted with integrity. It hit a bit of a roadblock. It was difficult to get companies to recognize what the customs brokers were doing. And so the idea was then to talk to companies specifically about what they could do by using and promoting the customs brokers that were doing the right thing. So working with the positive, trying to find ways to solve problems rather than regarding them as reasons to stop trying. I was recently talking to a pharmaceutical company in the Middle East, and they have products that they sell through pharmacies within that country. The pharmacies started some time ago to expect gifts maybe for the pharmacy owner, but maybe sometimes for the shop itself. And this company said to us, this is normal practice and everybody is doing it, but it sometimes is quite substantial. We're now owned by a larger company that says no tolerance for any form of bribery. Gift giving is very restricted. So what do we do? This is kind of normal in our country. And we're still talking to them, but basically the suggestion is you're not the only ones doing this. You're probably not the only ones who want to stop doing this. Let's see if we can find a way to bring those pharmaceutical companies that are also using these distributors to come together in collective action. So there's lots of hurdles, lots of challenges, but by talking about them, bringing them out into the open, we can start to see some solutions, hopefully, and working together and collaborating.
Right. Thank you so much. I think we are at a time where we should be looking at positives in whatever challenges that we get. I would not take much of your time, and I'll hand it over you to moderate the rest of the discussion on our journey. Thank you so much, Gemma.
Thank you so much, Seema. It's a great pleasure. So enough from me. Much more interesting will be to hear from the panelists who are currently engaged in collective action or who have been recently. So if Natasha, Reynaldo and Carolina can put on your cameras and we can see your lovely faces, that would be great. And hopefully you can all hear me. So in this next part of the discussion, we've got half an hour roughly for this part of the session today. We are lucky to have with us representatives from the different angles of how the Alliance for Integrity Network works in practice. So we're joined by Natasha Majumdar, who is with the Amfori Network and is a partner organization for the Alliance. And then we've got Reynaldo Goto, who is sitting, I think, in Brazil at the moment. And he is representing a company that has worked as a mentor within the Alliance's framework. And last but by no means least, we have Carolina Butas from Argentina. And she's representing one of the small companies that was a recipient of the support through the Alliance for Integrity Network. So we've got three different perspectives on this journey, and looking forward to having the discussion with you. So I'll spend a couple of minutes talking to each of you, and then we will throw it open to questions, and you can also come back to perhaps what your colleagues have said, and we can have a bit of an exchange on the challenges, the good things that came out, and what's next for the Alliance. So Natasha, if I can start off with you, that would be a good place to start. As I said, you represent an organization that was partnering or is partnering with the Alliance. Perhaps you can tell us just a little bit about Amfori and the network and how you came to be involved with the Alliance for Integrity.
Thank you, Gemma. Yes, that would be my pleasure. And, as I start, I'd like to say good day to all of you joining us from different corners of the world. And it is an absolute pleasure for me to represent Amfori this afternoon in India. I am the network representative for Amfori, which is the leading global business association for open and sustainable trade. Our vision at Amfori is of a world where all trade delivers social, environmental, and economic benefits for everyone. With over 2,400 global members, we do represent a combined turnover of more than 1 trillion euros. And it is really interesting that we did partner with Alliance for Integrity in this journey based on a number of common objectives that we actually find in the joint visions. Whether it's collaboration, also aligning with the SDGs, and then very importantly, integrity. Amfori has the Amfori BSCI Code of Conduct, which has also been active in India since 2002, right at the outset. And, ethical business behavior is one of the key 11 integral principles of this code of conduct. So in this sense, there was a joint vision and objective and goal that we worked towards, which actually helped us to design this work with us and to design this program to take it into the second phase as they were already on their journey.
Maybe you can elaborate for us a little bit exactly what did that entail in, I guess, mostly in India, right? So what is the journey actually involved for you in terms of bringing it to life?
Yes, so actually, AFIN and Amfori do work on collective action both in Argentina and in India. And for this particular integrity journey that I speak of today, it was a focus in India, and it was over the last year of 2020, which actually had its own challenges. So this journey was initially spearheaded by Alliance for Integrity, initiated all the way back in December 2019. And at that stage, the program was divided into 2 phases. Phase 1 entailed consultations, pre-consultations, as well as initial trainings. And then phase 2 entailed the adaptation and the collective action, which actually led to a conclusive integrity journey. So we did partner with them, as I mentioned, in the second phase. And one of the key aspects of expertise and experience that we brought in was the network of over 3,900 producers in India that we have, but also alignment with the Amfori BSCI code I mentioned. And capacity building is a USP of the Amfori Academy, which is Amfori's platform offering trainings to develop skills in sustainable supply chain management. The key objective and the primary objective of this collective action, which is already proven as an effective approach towards promoting transparency in the economic system, was aimed at building the competencies of participants. And in this case, it included SME manufacturers in the textile sector in Maharashtra, in implementing systems, strengthening compliances and processes within their organization to combat corruption, and improve responsible business conduct. The objective was also to establish and manage compliance management systems with a special focus on understanding the gray areas in the export compliances, and promoting integrity was very much at the core. The goals did include mentorship, training on the legal regime, business requirements, best practices, allowing for peer-to-peer learning, a collective search for practical solutions. And there was ample opportunity for participants to speak about their challenges in compliance, the ones they face on a day-to-day basis, irregularities that force them to pay bribes, and how they deal with it. Communication, trust, and confidence amongst mentors and participants was key, along with the platform for bilateral exchanges apart from regular sessions. And we did, entail the entire program did entail risks, and there were risks both from an internal, external, technological, and of course unforeseeable risks, like we did see COVID-19 and the outbreak of the pandemic globally as well as in India. So we did work with these risks in various manners, like we did ensure that the interventions were relevant to end users. while fulfilling the project mandate. And in order to overcome risks, there was long-term and comprehensive intervention that was planned with stakeholders. And it included constant discussions with them via an organic feedback loop system. Proxy indicators were used to map qualitative data, and after identifying markers in conjunction with project goals, topics were identified for training. Primarily and extensively, there was a deep communication and outreach strategy curated in order to realize maximum impact, considering the sector, the region, the company, and also the pandemic. So we really worked with the objective to create an environment of trust and ease for everyone who was a part of the journey.
It sounds like you did an enormous amount. So I'm just wondering, did you, just to understand it a little bit, unpack it a little bit. So for all these companies, was it the same package, or were you tailoring this for each company? And how many companies were involved?
Right. So we did have 15 registrations on this journey, of which 7 completed the entire journey. The journey was tailored already based on pre-consultations, surveys, feedback, as well as the challenges that the industry faces, whether it was lack of exports, low profitability, issues with GST compliance, stringent compliances, lack of technical clearances, bribery, quality inspections. So some of these, which were already identified through the various phases, were integrated into designing the program ahead. And whilst the program was offered to all the registered participants at the same time who did take part in online sessions, there were 8 online sessions over a period of 2 months. There was also the opportunity to work one-on-one, where customization to the needs of each participant was possible. So depending upon challenges, sometimes due to the sensitivity of the topic, these topics were not discussed in a common platform, but were discussed more one-on-one. So in that sense, customization was also possible depending upon the need of the participant.
Was it hard to? Sorry, just to go on to that, just to dig in there for a moment. So customization is always fantastic, right? Because then companies are really going to engage because it's totally relevant for their immediate problems. Was it hard to find matches between mentors and the particular problems, the issues that a company had raised, or was that quite straightforward, quite easy?
So a lot of this went in at the outset planning stage itself based on the challenges that were identified, and then mentors were identified keeping in mind already the gaps as well as the pain points. And Alliance for Integrity did play a very key role in recognizing and bringing together the relevant mentors for the relevant topics in the sense, so largely there was, also the drive to promote interaction during the online sessions, and there were various tools that were also used for this Menti mural, ample of opportunity to interact using video cameras, no recording for confidentiality. Designing of the sessions was really kept it was done keeping in mind, what the audience, the participant audience would require. And what really worked for this customized bit, as we look at it, is the development of a buddy system. So to create this environment of trust and confidence, a buddy system was introduced into the overall program. And the buddy system entails such that each member from the core group of M4E, Alliance for Integrity, CP Analytics, was made responsible for 3 to 4 participants. And they could be reached directly by the participants for support, and also for discussing challenges that they may face or sensitive topics that they wanted to discuss with corruption or bribery.
Thanks so much. We've nearly run out of time, but I just want to ask you if you could be very quick with the answer on this one. There were 15 that started out the journey and 7 completed it. is there any common reason why it had a bit of it seems like a relatively high dropout rate or non-completion rate? Just a short answer on that would be great. Thanks.
Yes, a quick few things that we did recognize that were the challenges for this at that time. There was definitely the effects and the impact of COVID-19 and the impact of the same. This did take place during the first wave, and the economy in India was just about beginning to open up. So there were its own challenges that participants had. But at the same time, there were different kind of feedback that we did gather towards the end that also engaged the timing of the programs, whether the timing should be at an earlier part of the day, or how to entail it so that participants could best include. We did host this towards the end of the day, and that sometimes clashed with either communication timings, logistical timings for participants, and so on. So we did gather these learnings also, which factored into the dropout rate as we observed.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
Gemma, one thing allow me to add, we did observe at this that with these, there is ample scale and scope that can actually be leveraged to take this forward. And, some of the larger positive learnings that we had from this program at the outset, just set a premise for scaling up this pilot collective action across different domains, regions, and sectors. And this project does present a very strong case for upscaling in order to champion the cause of integrity in business.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. I'm going to move on, if I may, now to Ronaldo. Great to see you. And it would be nice to hear a little bit, Ronaldo, about how your company, and tell us just a little bit about your company and how it came to be a mentor in the Alliance. That would be a good starting point, I think. Thank you.
So hello, Gemma. Pleasure to talk to you. I hope that everyone is healthy and safe. Yeah. So it's my great pleasure to represent here the minority of men in the panel and also in the discussion. I mentioned that because all the hard work was also done here in Brazil by what I call a AAA team. Yeah, three wonderful women who started with A, Alicia, Amanda, and Ariadne. Or also join us here, and they have done all the hard work. Yeah. So Gemma asked me if I'm São Paulo because we met in several different countries across the world, I think. Yeah. And it's always a pleasure to learn from you. I used to work for Siemens for 20 years, and now I'm at the BRF. Yeah, as regional compliance officer of Siemens. Yeah, I have the honor to be the original chairman of the local board from Alliance for Integrity. That's why I was always engaging with Alliance for Integrity from the beginning. And when I moved to BRF, I continued to help the initiative because I very much trust in the initiative. BRF is the largest poultry exporter in the world. Yeah, we are a large producer of protein. Yeah. And we have also a very strong and broad network, and that's why participating also during the journey was extremely important for us. Yeah, I engaged because I pretty much believe that in compliance we share and we do not compete. Yeah, I think that we fight together for a better market. In this better market, okay, we compete in price, quality, customer care. Yeah, but in terms of integrity, I never fight to be the best compliance officer, the best compliance system. Yeah, I believe that we need to share and not compete. Yeah. During the journey, I learned a lot. In fact, yeah, I have several takeaways from this journey. Yeah, first of all, what's my surprise that large companies could also learn a lot from small and medium enterprise. Yeah, we started as a mentor, believing that you are going to teach some things, but at the end of the day, you also learn a lot. Yeah. You also learned that, as usual, execution also finds some challenges. We have very similar numbers, as Natasha mentioned, and I can I can see all the problems that Natasha describes also in our journey. We started with 62 companies interested, and we finished with 12 completed. Yeah, but you use a very nice word, Gema, that was tenacity and resilience that are key in this journey. And project management, of course, yeah. And here again, I need to recognize the strong job that Amand has done during this long period. Yeah, we also learned that build a strong network is key, and it stays even after the journey. Yeah, and I can mention that I build a stronger network, and I believe that also Alliance for Integrity has a better network nowadays. Yeah. And at the end, I also learned that the more you give or the more you dedicate for this journey, yeah, in fact, the more you receive back, and that's I would say that is not only good for the companies but also good for the professionals who participate in the journey.
Thanks, Ronaldo. Maybe if I can come back on a couple of the
Yes.
things that you said to get into because the details of what makes this really interesting and your personal
Yes.
experience. So when you said that you also learned something from being a mentor, I don't know if you could give us a few examples of what you learned and how you have used that in your company or in the wider network that you have, if that's possible.
Yes, for sure. Yeah. I mean, BRF has 100,000 employees, very similar to Siemens, who has more than thousands of employees all across the world. Yeah. And for large companies like BRF or Siemens, yeah, training and communication are extremely complicated. You can imagine that I have to elaborate the material in 15 different languages and adapt it, not only the language, but also you need to adapt the training according to the different cultures and control this small things. Is extremely painful and extremely complicated. Yeah. But for a small and medium enterprise, basically they put the 15 employees in a room. Yeah, they communicate, they train at the same time everyone, and it's done. Yeah, I mean I passed the entire year trying to do it, and in 1.5 hours a small and medium enterprise could complete it. Yeah. On the other side, as Natasha mentioned, yeah, for large companies, it's easier to invest in some IT tools. Yeah, when I mentioned to a small and medium enterprise that I spent some $100,000 in a tool for due diligence, they say, "Oh, this is my entire budget for the year. I don't have the money for that." Yeah, and that's why you start to recognize that, of course, you can learn what I've learned and I try to replicate that at BRF is to replicate this micro environment of the small and medium enterprise. So every small corner that I have a good manager who can join these 15 employees like a small and medium enterprise and replicate this small environment of small and medium enterprise within a large company. That's why was my main takeaway from this journey.
That's really fantastic because quite often we get asked by companies, why should I do this? What's in it for me? I mean, they put it maybe more subtly than that, but basically it comes down to why? Why should I do this? So we're looking always for good reasons and incentives to get everybody to join in. So your experience in that is very helpful. I just wanted to ask you as well, if I may, as a mentor, did you look for companies that are in the same sector? Or was this open to whoever wanted to benefit from your experience?
The first journey was a little bit broader, I would say. It's more like as you mentioned, we don't pay, we learn. So we try to capture as much company as possible. I would say just also to try to test this concept. Yeah. Now I'm using a background from the second journey is more from the agriculture sector, and now we are a little bit more focused really in our chain or network of suppliers. Yeah. And in this sense, I also see that large companies could profit a lot from this journey. Yeah. Because from time to time, it's quite hard for me as a compliance officer to go to a small and medium enterprise and say, look, do this, I recommend you to do that. And they just have the feeling, okay, yeah, you are a big one and trying to impose me something. Yeah. But if you come with a concept with several other companies with Transparent International, ICC, United Global Compact, and you have really a network, everyone saying, oh, that's good, yeah. And also for our supply, they are going to say, oh, it's not only a concept from BRF, it's a broader concept, yeah. I will receive at the end of the day a certificate also from a well-recognized institution, yeah, and then they really see a value on that. And then, and come to your question, yes, we are now in the second round a little bit more focused in one specific segment, yeah, and I believe that it's going to be also quite successful.
Thank you so much. It's actually, if I may now turn to Carolina in the interest of time, a good segue into to hearing from one of the recipients or beneficiaries, shall I say, of the Alliance for Integrity's network and journey. So maybe I can turn to you, Carolina. It's great to see you. Thank you so much for joining. I guess it must be very early in the morning for you.
Yeah.
So you are the legal and compliance and HR head, as I understand it, in Kono Group. Your logo is behind you. And maybe you can just tell us a couple of words about your company and how you benefited from the Alliance's program.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, and good morning to everybody. First of all, I'm delighted with the opportunity for us, the small and medium-sized enterprises, for the visibility of the integrity through our companies, which are a strong driver of our country and mostly micro enterprises. And we are generators of regional economies. And many thanks to the outstanding professionals who has accompanied us in the integrity journey, and to the entire team of the program, the other SMEs, from which we learn and nurture and move forward with implementation of the integrity program. I'll make a brief review of Kono, of my company, and our integrity journey. Kono is an Argentine company with Swiss roots, with more than 40 years dedicated to the agricultural activity. And it's a leader in the export of specialties, grains and pulses, and our star product is the chickpea. And back in 2015, 2016, it began an intense process of professionalization and growth of the company, and to travel from the way from a family business to a professional family business corporation. And a decade before, Kono had already begun the path of the good corporate governance by signing a shareholders agreement. That was very important also. And then I came to the company in 2017, 4 years ago, and we started ordering the legal issues and reviewing corporate governance and compliance actions. And I was actually told and happy to receive the instructions and the requirement to do things right. And I was asked, Carolina, I want things legally in order. And hearing that in Argentina, it's almost a blessing. And so happy with that, we started a process which lasted about 2 years. Meanwhile, the business criminal liability law was enacted in Argentina, and that point was the kickoff to move forward with a risk mapping and thinking about drafting policies and procedures in our company. We are, I have to say, we are 110 employees in the whole company. Happy with the support also of the shareholders, and that step for us was very simple, as they have strong and firm values. We began the work and we check out what were the necessary steps for the fulfillment of an integrity program. And Google was a great friend by that time. So we found out the global compact model, and that was the wheel of continuous improvement to commit, to assess, to define, and to implement, measure, and communicate, right? And well, we said, where do we start from? And the first point affected were resources, human and economic, as Reynaldo said, right? But human resources were mostly affected because we are just 60 people in the office. And in the company, there are a few of us. We are always the same faces. I'm HR and legal and compliance. We are multitasking. But our situation was clear at the business level. I mean, we wanted to grow, to improve the game, and to improve the relationship with our customers. We wanted to get to new markets. And Europe, where you are demanded, and most potential customers, Kono is an export company. They wanted ethical rules and policies, so we started with the quality care, drafting policies with the values of our company. But that wasn't enough for us. So to be competitive and become part of the value chain of those companies and those customers, we had to grow first in internal ordering. So we had to prove that we were reliable, a serious company, stated in Argentina, and with which they could do business. So we started mapping the risk, as I said, at a micro level, and mapping processes and procedures, and began drafting our code of ethics. And we created also an ethics committee, a channel to receive suggestions or complaints. And then the integrity journey came, and a friend of mine recommended me. She's Mariana Regueira from Alliance, the German-Argentine Chamber of Commerce, and Carolina Chavarria from Alliance for Integrity. They are members of Women in Compliance, which is a great achievement in Argentina for women that we are in compliance. And she told me about the integrity journey, and the participation in the integrity journey it was an outstanding help with practical and professional tools, because as the passport journey slogan says, integrity is a good business. And with the program, it gave us templates, practical tools to start the path of integrity. It gave us as I said, the ABC, and for a very reasonable cost for small companies. And furthermore, we achieved knowledge with intercompany coffees. It's company from company to company. Now they are in a virtual platform, and well, we received from experts and compliance officers all their knowledge, and we also measure our compliance program. I'm sorry. Okay, we measure ourselves with the integrity app. And back then we were in compliance with the 4%. That was all commitment. Then we dropped our code of ethics, and as I said, we started training people, and we actually have a 65% measured by the Alliance for Integrity app. And actually we are readjusting our code of ethics and making it more simpler, and drafting policies and more procedures, and a general compliance framework with the help of, in Switzerland, with one of our board members. And another big step for us was signing the Global Compact adhering to the 10 principles to promote sustainable development in the whole area, right?
Thank you. It's a fantastic journey that
I'm
you.
sorry for this, but it was important to describe our journey.
Yes. So thank you very much. Maybe just a very short answer because time is moving on so fast. But clearly this has been important not only for your company internally, but as you said at the beginning, very important for your customers. And I'm wondering how you're communicating that to your customers. I haven't seen this on your website, but maybe it's there somewhere. But how are you communicating this tone from the top, your commitments and so on, to make sure that you are benefiting also from this journey?
Well, we have a web page and we communicate our code of ethics in there. We are readjusting also our web page to adhere, and we have quality certifications also, which are in compliance with all these principles and the Global Compact. And it's a must for being suppliers to Europe and the US. So we have to complete their policies and their requirements, and that's how we inform them that we are doing that. Besides, with the reformatting, we are drafting our code of conduct and a supplier code. So we want to have their knowledge and they're okay for our policies, right?
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. So I have seen those, but I hadn't
if
realized.
If we don't comply,
yeah.
Yes, it makes us confident towards our customers because doors were open and we didn't gain a better price, but we got into the market and we were able to access to other markets and reliable customers. And here in Argentina, for example, we are able, with our code of ethics and being a small company, to access to tenders, for example, with the state, and reputational benefits because we were selected by a big national company in Argentina for an agricultural certification paid by them. So we access to be a supplier and those benefits, right?
Thank you so much. I would love to hear more from all of you, but we have run out of time in this session, so in this part of the session. So thank you very much. I'm going to say keep up the good work and stay in touch with your networks because it's fantastic what you're all doing.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Allow me to turn to Chandrama Chatterjee, who is going to talk about and launch the Export Compliance Handbook for the textile sector in India. So the floor is yours. Thank you so much. Are you on mute or are we having a technical problem?
Hi, Gemma. Do I start? I was.
Yes, please. Please tell us about your handbook.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks a lot. So this has been a good journey. In fact, I had wanted to be part of it because the sector that I've been working on for the last nearly 20 years now, the apparel sector in India, the textile and apparel sector in India, I think this is one area that as a policy maker, we had not given a lot of importance earlier. But for the last 10 years, this has been an area recognized by all the stakeholders where there needs to be more investment, engagement, and discussion so that it is not something that just on paper, and it reflects in the well-being of everybody in it. So it was a great journey. The team did a wonderful work. We in the manual, what we wanted to capture was why, because as the discussion had come earlier, what is the benefit of an organization to get into this? That's in fact the first bottleneck that you meet whenever it is this discussion that comes up. So the first part of the compendium talks about why one should do that, a global perspective to that, and as also an internal understanding of how that will help. Then it covers the hows of it as to what are the ways. And there, of course, I personally also like to put a lot more stress on the best practices and voluntary practices that we have learned and evolved over the years, besides the plethora of the compliance and legal requirements of the land, as also the countries that the exporters are exporting to. And the third part of it, this is the various links and various literatures from where you can find more details on this. So that has been broadly the three main areas on which the manual is covering. And the journey for this started with a few sessions that we had with the exporters and manufacturers, largely based out of Maharashtra. I still recall the session I had last year with a bunch of them, a lot of them young entrepreneurs, and I think that's a very good indication, because I think that brings out that growing desire and awareness to know what is compliance in a more holistic way, because a lot of the discussion also moved around that. In spite of all the challenges that Natasha spoke about in India, since last year, it has not been a easy year. It has not been a good year. And still discussions like this can be on the table, I think is a huge achievement in itself. In fact, as we speak today, it's not a great day. Delhi and NCR is going through a very difficult time. And in such times, to keep the faith and believe in business continuity and hence a relevance for all this is also a huge thing. So there, I share a little bit my personal journey in the last, as I told, 10-15 years in this sector has been one which has been very encouraging, because initially it was, I also as a practitioner was looking more at all the legal frameworks and requirements. And then one realized that, all that was a lot of investment from the factories. In fact, uh, our surveys had said that it was something like 2 to 5% of the cost of it for a mid-sized company. It would, of course, be smaller for larger companies and larger for smaller companies. And hence the need for a business case, a long-term vision, and continuity of such exercises. So there, excuse me, in the last 10 years, that collective action mode has started. It had been a lot of discussions with the other brands and other stakeholders with this need for bringing in more business case and value to it. So from a legal perspective, the journey around 2010 onwards moved towards management systems and practices, which itself brought in some continuity and sustainability in the achievements. And in the last few years, there has been the journey has also moved towards capturing on ground, feasible, replicable, good practices that your peer group is doing. All this, of course, is a good and a very comprehensive cycle that lends to each other in terms of bringing in more integrity, more belief in integrity, more belief in the value of integrity and collective action. Some specific examples I wanted to share to bring an understanding of how the journey has been. One major area of non-compliance and integrity issues have been the wage payments, because obviously there's always this pressure for a last minute assignment which requires a lot of outsourcing, a lot of job workers, which brings in a lot of non-transparency at times of the wage payments, the requirement for overtimes. Over time, there has been some very innovative action taken in it, a lot of it driven by brands, where you have been talking of a passbook system, you have been talking of other ways of having a better planning of the whole production process so that the need for such things do not arise. And of course, a way of documenting the attempts that you're making at having a more consistent worker engagement. and of course more stress on permanent workers vis-a-vis contractual workers, because that's where these kind of non-compliances creep in. So there have been such very encouraging moves that is done by not just the brands. Like I am presently also working with ILO on a good practices manual, where we could capture a lot of good practices from other countries, very low-hanging fruits of a better workplace, cooperation, participation, training, as also documentation of those trainings and more transparency of those in the manufacturer's workplace, websites, annual reports. In fact, that's an area my council, the Apparel Export Promotion Council, with which I have been associated for the last 13 years, have been working. We have been trying to encourage such documentation and display of the journey that companies have been taking for better compliance management, better systems, and of course, which lend to better integrity, have been done. And today I must share, not all, but a lot of the flag bearers in this sector have in their websites described the targets they have set in, the initiatives they have taken towards that, as also their vision for the future for better worker health, better workplace cooperation, and better communication from the worker to the supervisor, from the supervisor to the management, from the management to the other stakeholders, external stakeholders, and a vice versa team. So as Gemma had one point said, that it is because Ms. Bhutto's journey was very good. In fact, I wanted to congratulate. I really liked to hear more about the journey there, and I could see a lot of resonance of that with a lot of our fellow exporters also. So I think these kind of an experience sharing and your internal processes and innovations in taking this journey forward are all very encouraging. I learned a lot from this journey, and I hope this manual which we are launched today will be a good starting point for a lot of young entrepreneurs who are getting into this complex sector, the textile and apparel sector. However, the journey is long. We need to continue, and I think we all are learning that the virtual platform is a great, inexpensive and borderless way of exchanging information and building up on the collective knowledge and wisdom that we are gaining in this sector. With that hope, and in these times, that difficult times that we are, I hope this whole journey will lend not just to a one-time action, but a long-term collective action of improving our understanding and management of the compliances, especially in labor-intensive sectors like the textile and apparel value chain. With that, I wish the whole team good luck. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your words and for your experience and explaining your journey personally, and also for the handbook, which I'm sure will be an inspiration and a guidance that is specific not only to the sector, as you say, but perhaps also more widely. So we look forward to looking at that, and congratulations on its launch. I hope you have a very intensive period now of making it known. Because the textile sector is massive in India. It's literally millions and millions of people working in it. So a very important area for you to continue your endeavours. So congratulations and thank you so much. We are pretty much at the top of the hour, so we have run out of time, which I'm very sorry to say. It has been a very interesting and wide-ranging exchange of experiences and ideas. So I thank you all, the speakers, for being so open, not only with the successes, but also some of the challenges, as we said at the beginning, and reflecting and understanding how those come about and what more we can do to learn from them in future. So I'm not going to summarize what everybody said. I think that this is being recorded, so perhaps if those who want to find out what was said at the beginning on the challenges and so on, perhaps it would be possible to pull this up from somewhere or other on Google, our great friend, in the future. But thank you very much to everyone and to the Alliance for Integrity in India. I'll hand back to the chair of the session and say bye for now from Basel, but thank you all very much.
Thank you so much, Gemma, and all our speakers, Chandrima, Ronaldo, Natasha, and Carolina. It was wonderful having this very fruitful discussion today. Thank you, and I wish you all good luck with your own journeys, and hope we'll stay in touch and do more collaborative action together. Thank you so much. And to all our participants, thank you so much for your time. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks very much. Bye. It's been a
Thank
pleasure
you.
to
Bye.
speak with all
Bye-bye.
of you.
See you. Bye bye.